Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Yida as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. This is from an act named Wendy Wander, titled I Want to Be With You. Now we're skipping a little bit ahead in this. This video is 7-something minutes, but the track itself is just under 7, so we got lyrics for this as well. We're gonna check through later on. Gonna listen through this performance from start till finish, and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. It's just so smooth with the guitar, the keys, the drums, the bass and everything. You've got that wonderful lead voice in there. Soulful kind of city pop aesthetic there with the beautiful electric keys on top with the glorious kind of sheen to them. Oh, swing groove. And not least the saxophone. I want to make a general comment on the mixing. It sounds uneven, but not in the way that is distracting or detracting from the experience. There is a mid-range wah sound I can kind of hear here where I think there are certain instruments panned to the left in the mix and some to the right. I know it'll be opposite for you guys, but when I listen to this, I think, how could you have improved it? And I think that this really does kind of sound like you're a part of the actual, like you're there when it's live and the music is surrounding you in the headphones. I think interesting. That's quite an interesting sort of like effect there. Back to the sax lead. That's cool. It's almost melancholy in the appearance of it. I appreciate the effort put in to create really interesting vocal melodies and to explore our range. I think Wendy Wander, if this is Wendy here, is a fantastic singer. Very soulful, communicating in a mood that makes sense with the arrangement. Wonderful dissension there in unison notes. Oh, fantastic work with the keys on the right. Yeah, nailed it.
就像海浪卷在风里，撑了3夜措手不及。我带着你的心，我在这等你，好想你的声音。
Wonderful crispness to his voice. Okay, well done. Well done. I like the phrasing of that guitar solo there. It was interesting with that rolling with those semitonal increments there. It slid down and it was very dreamy. We're exploring some repeated melodic phrasings that we've had in other parts of the track on different instruments, and I adore that each of the performers within it is getting their time to shine. So satisfying, man. Oh, the dynamic range. She got a quad cortex down there. I don't know if you can see that little white thing on the ground. I think that might be a quad cortex. I might be wrong though, but either way, I think technology is incredible nowadays. And that's it, the performance of the Wendy Wander I Want to Be With You cinemaphonic sessions. We got lyrics to look through after this, but I can say, without even going too far into it, that I feel as if this is going to be quite a positive conclusion. You know, I think this is a really well-written track without any hyperbole. So we've got the lyrics here kind of provided by Yida. I want to be with you, drive away the dark clouds in the sky, wake up from the beach, tell me about the mood. So the waves are rolling in the wind. With an umbrella, I was prepared. So, like, what are we trying to sort of talk away? I want to be with you. With an umbrella, I was unprepared. Basically, I think what we're trying to insinuate is that we want these people to be with this person through the stormy weather, for you to sort of take care of each other. Like, you miss them. You miss the voice and you miss themselves and everything like that. I'll take your letter. I'll wait for you here. And we've got la 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 at the end as they sing together and harmonize wonderfully. Because we've got the two of them together with their vocal part later on in the track. We have I assume is to be Wendy going first, and then we have the bass dude singing his part, kind of maybe giving both sides of the relationship, and then they come together at the end to harmonize really eloquently for that final sort of chorus section. But yeah, I think we know what this track is about. I'm going to talk about that more in the conclusion. Welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an actor named Wendy Wander, titled I Want to Be With You, the Cinemaphonic Sessions. Now, first of all, I want to say this is a band that clearly knows what they're doing. I was very impressed with what was put on display here, sincerely. It's a long track at just under 7 minutes, but I think it was very well phrased, and so we're going to talk about that now. The track itself, I think it's about a couple, you have the lady speak first, then the guy, and then they sort of sing la 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 together, and they kind of harmonize like that, as if they have come together at the end to weather the storm. It's about realizing that no matter how prepared you are for life and its various things that are going on there, if you need the umbrella when you got that rain going on there, you're waking up and you're realizing that you really do miss that person and their voice and everything like that. And you just want them by your side. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. I think that it's cool subject matter. I think it was well sung by both singers. I thought that they showed great control of their head and chest voice. There wasn't a wide variety of different vocal techniques shown. It wasn't a virtuosic performance, but I don't think that having a crazy wild ride with the vocals with heaps of different twists and turns with it would have necessarily been beneficial for this. Everything with this track was kind of sleepy sounding, not in the sense that it was uninteresting, but that it was very kind of like chill and calm and relaxed and everything like that. We were trying to calmly and lovingly discuss things. Like we were having, it's R&B, man. It's R&B. It's a bit of soul, a bit of jazz in there and everything like that, lo-fi aesthetic. And I adore it, man. I thought they expressed themselves incredibly well. It was very romantic. And it wasn't just the fact that there was a nice bit of vocal fry and the guy's voice there. The lady's voice was very satisfying when she went up to that high range there. There was a bit of vulnerability shown from both. Like they were almost kind of scared to say the words too loudly. But then when they started harmonizing at the end, they were a lot more proud about it. And you got that wonderful fusion there, not only with the voices, but with the rest of the instruments, the saxophones, the key parts, the guitar, bass, and drums. So I thought the vocal parts were incredibly compelling. Had a great time listening through those. It took a while for us to get to the vocals though, as this is, again, it's a long track. It's just under 7 minutes, but I think that was incredibly well phrased. We had a lot of love shown to the other parts of the backing. We had, again, the main instruments being the guitar, bass, drums, piano, and brass. Did I say brass? The saxophone. We had several different key parts, I think, as well. With worthy note being that the singer was playing one of the guitar parts. We had lead guitar and rhythm, and then we also had the bassist who was doing singing as well. So there's some multi-instrumentalists here, some incredibly talented people. The first third of the track was establishing the different moods of the musical motifs, and we had several different sections there where I think things sped up sometimes, and other points were at a slower tempo there. We were exchanging different flows of movement and passion there, and ultimately I think what was happening at the start was meant to sort of alert us to what was going to be spoken about in future. So I think there was a bit of subtle stuff going on originally to set the mood. I think that's a smart decision to make. I mean, it's also kind of a ballsy one because a lot of the time you kind of want to get yourself to that main hook line, that main verse quite quickly. But these guys were talented enough and creative enough that they can make things were very quiet at the start. If I go back to the start a little bit, we start with those keys and the saxophone and everything like that. We eventually come in with the guitars, bass, and drums, but it's very subtle. We don't have everything at once. When it does kick in, you have this instant misty aesthetic there that feels very comforting, like a warm blanket. And what I also appreciate is how effortlessly the performances are conveyed in a way that's both very authentic and very just well performed. The musicians on display here are tremendous on their kit. Talk about the individual instrumentalists. I thought the saxophone had a wonderful phrasing, which was a nice foil for the vocals. There was a sense of romanticism about the various notes there. We knew into staccato, we knew into legato. We played notes that were very respectful to the chord progressions, which weren't typical. There was some parallel majors and minors. I think there were some interesting modulations going on there. But we nonetheless played an important part of having an alternate lead there outside of the guitar, the other keys when they came up. Very early on the piece in a way that almost communicated the mood almost too well. The keys as well, formulating most of the chordal pattern and pad-like textures within it. We had keys, I think we also had some synth pads as well, so we're playing several different devices there in a way, which made a lot of musical sense. So I've got to show some love for that. It's great. That's why you have different synths with different sounds of different parts. So that was good. And you got two hands, you can do two at the same time, as well as an 8-octave Nord keyboard there, which I want. I love those red Nord keyboards. They're phenomenal. They look like a lot of fun to mess around with. But we had the keys sort of. We understood the position of notes within a frequency spectrum. We found niches for them throughout. Very comfortable in that mid-range there, but we also went up the scale, did some arpeggios and up and down sort of scale shapes later on, and triad modulations there and arpeggios. And ultimately, it was just really well expressed. Not much all the time, though. It's important to note with a lot of the instruments within this mix, we weren't trying to have too much of everything. We were trying to allow the listener enough time to take in the instrument without them kind of taking over the entirety of the mood. But when there were sparkles to be had, the keys were there, whether they were synths or pads or electric, sort of more sort of traditional parts. We had them nailed, and ultimately there's lovely textures within the arrangement that suited the saxophone really well. The guitars that we had there, whether they were the strummed, kind of chimey, chorusy, reverb-laden guitar bits, like rhythm guitar parts, or we had the leads that were very restrained in pocketing. The lead guitarist was pocketing, even with his scale section there. We could have probably played a lot more notes, but we kept things relatively minimalist for the note choice in a way that allowed any of the other sort of pseudo leads there to come in at a similar level in a way that was more acceptable. And they could even stack more nicely on each other because of that. There is an art in knowing the right amount of notes to play, and I think the lead guitarist here had that down to a T. The bass guitarist was wonderful in the sense that we didn't just play the root notes, we were thoroughly articulate in our upper range as well. We were going up to the 12th and 14th frets and kind of dancing around those bits with a variety of different mutes and 8th and 16th note grooves and such. It was almost like we were playing lead with the bass. We found all the little niches and gaps within the frequency spectrum and the stereo field to put ourselves in. And ultimately, it was just, we knew when to pocket as well. We got a bit more simple sometimes when we just needed those root notes. We needed to slow down the rhythms. But we had a lot of variety within those parts in a way that was additive to the experience rather than reductive. The drummer was wonderful. I think that we expressed ourselves really well with the chord note kind of feel that we had early on, moving into some eighths. And then we had swing. And we shuffled with the cymbal parts, the kicks and snares, whilst also being quite well reasoned with the tom fills that we had later on, working between triplets and then some 16th parts as well. Again, there was a relatively chilled feel to the percussion. It was meant to establish a sense of groove and pace, but the band was good enough without it that it could do it anyways. So the drummer was left in no position but to add further personality to the mix. I thought they did that in spades. And ultimately, when you combine these different components together in a track which had 2 or 3 minutes of instrumental sort of appropriation, and then you had the lady come in, Wendy Wander, I suppose, with her part, and then the guy come in later on for a second verse, and then you had the third part where it go la la la. I assume this track is through composed. I don't have an issue with that. It's just one of the most well written through composed pieces I've heard in quite a while. There was a wonderful scintillating live performance that exemplified their skills as musicians to a T. And ultimately, I'd recommend, I feel like listening to more of Wendy Wander stuff after hearing this. That's not something I say often, but they're so good that I've wanted to hear more. So I look forward to checking that out in my own time. But the overall theme, it seems like when you think about the stormy weather and stuff like that, the mood of the sevenths there, the mid-range comfort and glow of the various parts, the lack of intensity and hard sort of sounds and textures within us, the charm and shine of it, alongside again the chord progressions, the ease of use of the bass there, the flexibility there without too much low end resonance, kind of makes me feel like this is a song where you're kind of inside a room waiting for the storm to pass outside with the person right next to you in the room. And I think that suits the lyrics that we were talking about, and I think it suits the vocal style there, and ultimately things are very well connected. And so you end up with a piece that's very well reasoned without a note out of place. The performance is stunning, and it's just the studio recording, mixing, and mastering, which is top tier. They really have a way with getting these instruments to sound the best they possibly can. The vocals, the guitar, bass, drums, various key parts, and brass are all incredibly well handled. No red resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field as well. The glowing in general was wonderful. It was uneven in the stereo field, but in a way where it made you think about the music rather than be distracted by that. There was dynamic range to it as well. It wasn't the same loudness all the time. And the music was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. I mean, effectively, this is my very positive review of this track from an act named Wendy Wander, titled I Want to Be With You, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show us some love via the various social medias, and I presume they're on YouTube, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SC Patrons video. Spiderhands out.